In this lesson, we're going to be going over the use of Netcat. Now, Netcat is a command line utility that is used to read from or write to the network. And it actually gets its name from the command line utility cat, which cat can be used to read from files or write to files. And cat was actually short for concatenate, and it was used to combine files together. But if you don't have multiple files, it acts similarly. So what I'm actually doing here is I'm concatenating this particular file to the screen, since I haven't provided a file name to send it out to. So Netcat works similarly. I am actually going to read from the network, or I could write to the network as well. And the first thing I want to do is I want to write to the network. So I'm going to use Netcat, and I'm just going to do a very simple demonstration here of what Netcat can do. So I'm going to connect to www.google.com on port 80. So I'm going to connect to the web server at the host name www.google.com. So now I'm just going to open up this TCP connection. You see, I don't actually get anything back here to indicate one way or the other, but I could actually just check it by issuing an HTTP request. So if I issue that HTTP request, you see that I get a response, and this is actually the HTML that I'm getting back, as well as all of the JavaScript, which is actually what we're looking at here right now. So what I just got back was the HTML and JavaScript that would be sent to your browser. Now, Netcat has several other uses. What I could do is I could also issue a UDP request. In addition to the default TCP, I could also connect on UDP. And you can see I could also do IPv4 or IPv6. Now, one of the other interesting things that I can do with Netcat is I could actually set it up to be a listener. So I've got a listener here, and I'm going to say listen on localhost, which is the loopback address. And I'm going to say just listen on port 5000. So now I've got a listener set up here, and I can actually open up a new terminal window. And now I'm going to use Netcat again. So I could do Netcat 127.0.0.1 on port 5000. And I'm connected, even though it doesn't actually say I'm connected. I'm connected. So you can see what I type in the window on my client side is actually being reflected on what's effectively a server side here. So anything I type in the client window shows up in the server window. So you could actually set up a dummy server using Netcat and just the listener functionality of Netcat. So you could have a dummy server where somebody could connect, for example, and try to initiate an automatic connection to get mail, where you could collect usernames and passwords, just as an example. So there are a lot of different things that I can do with Netcat, and it gives me the ability to do manual manipulation of the server and the protocols that you're talking to the server with. Now, in a subsequent lesson, we'll talk about doing that manual manipulation and the different things you can do to check protocols, and that would be using Netcat. But this is just the basics of using Netcat to connect and to listen.